Hey there, my name is Nolan, and welcome back to After Credit Reflection. And today, I'm going to be talking about The Amazing Spider-Man Duology, starring Andrew Garfield. Anyways, I feel like I should be in a shirt that fits this. So give me a second. Three, two, one, and that's more like it. Now, let's get on with the review, shall we? Today, I'm going to be talking about The Amazing Spider-Man, starring Andrew Garfield. I'm also going to be talking about The Amazing Spider-Man 2, also starring Andrew Garfield. Anyways, let's get into it. These are some of my favorite movies, so I'm going to be hitting them pretty hard. Alright, so first up, we got The Amazing Spider-Man, starring Andrew Garfield. Everybody thought he would not be good for this role. Andrew Garfield is not going to be good as Peter Parker. He is actually one of the best actors that has portrayed the character of Spider-Man. And I'm saying that as both a Spider-Man fan and somebody who grew up watching this one. Now, is it perfect? No, it's not. No movie ever is completely 100% perfect. There are going to be things that may not feel right or may not look right, but overall, The Amazing Spider-Man is not as bad as people say it is. Now, do I think that the visuals for Lizard are better in The Amazing Spider-Man than in No Way Home? Yeah, I do. Because they did have a little bit more real texture to them. But overall, um, I think that Amazing Spider-Man carries a certain quality to it that not many superhero movies have. And it's the general humor that Spider-Man has. And I think that's something that in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we did get a little bit of that in the Spider-Man character portrayed by Tom Holland, but we haven't really gotten it fully. And the comedic timing of Andrew Garfield in these movies is one of the best things about the duology. And I know duology may mean something else, but here it means two movies. And overall, I mean, there's not much to go into detail with these movies. Like, it's not that there's nothing wrong, but there is just the context of Peter Parker figuring out how to become Spider-Man and become the man that Uncle Ben knows he can be. In this case, Peter Parker, portrayed by Andrew Garfield, is trying to find his father, or at least remnants of his father. But I think that people overlook that and they're just like, oh, he's not a great Spider-Man. No, you gotta understand the context of which this character is going through because he saw his parents leave for the last time and never heard from them again. And so overall, I think that this is actually one of the most emotional Peter Parkers that we've seen in film. One of the things I love about the Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man movies is that, as I said, he's one of the most grounded, down-to-earth Spider-Man that we've ever come across in film, but he also is one of the most emotional. And as a person who also shows his emotions regularly, I kind of related to that in a way. And Spider-Man is kind of this character that we can all relate to. It's just amazing to see a character like that. Now we have The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which most people say is the worst Spider-Man movie ever made. I don't think so, actually. I think that The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is often called that because of how they dealt with the two villains, how they dealt with Green Goblin and how they dealt with Electro. I think that Electro, just like I said with Sandman, is one of the best characters in the Spider-Man pantheon. You know, one of the best of his rogues gallery. Because Electro is relatable. He's a fan of Spider-Man, and he wants to be a friend of Spider-Man. And then that's taken away from him because of his choices, and because he accidentally fell into a vat of electric eels. So, yeah, it's definitely one of the most heartbreaking villain stories we have, other than Flint Marko in Spider-Man 3. But it is also one of the best villain portrayals we've gotten. Now, controversially, I do not think that they handled the Green Goblin well in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. The reason I say that is because it's kind of thrown together. It's not really built up over time. Not unlike the way Sam Raimi handled Green Goblin. But who am I kidding? I'm just a nerd. But overall, I think that what this movie does really well is deal with Peter's emotions. And I think that this duology is one of the best representations of Peter Parker's struggles. Now, when it comes to Spider-Man's struggles, I think that the one that takes the cake on that is the MCU. And I think that that's one of the best representations of Spider-Man. But in terms of Peter Parker, I think Andrew Garfield is one of the best portrayals of the human behind the web-headed warrior. Alright, now it's time to grade them. So, Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man, and The Amazing Spider-Man 2 both deserve a fair grade. Even though they are my favorite, it is my favorite portrayal of Spider-Man in film. I think that it deserves a fair grading that is not represented by favoritism. And I think that a fair grading for The Amazing Spider-Man is, I would say, a 7.5. Just because there is a lot of flaws, there are some plot holes, but overall, I think that the reflection score is going to be a 7.5. The Amazing Spider-Man 2, yes, it built on the world that we knew from the first movie, but overall, I think it was pretty good. I mean, I'd give it a 7. Even though these are my favorite portrayal of Peter Parker, I think that uh, it could have been a lot better. These two movies could have been a lot better, and had we gotten Amazing Spider-Man 3, I would have been doing a trilogy video today. But since we only got 2, and we're waiting for the Amazing Spider-Man 3 whenever they're going to make it, I guess we'll just have to wait. Alright, that's it for me at After Credit Reflection. My name is Nolan, and I'm so glad that you joined. Don't forget to get your tickets and see Spider-Man Brand New Day in theaters Friday, July 31st. What's up? If you went to enjoy this video, go ahead, leave a like. And if you want to subscribe, that'd be awesome because I need some more support. Anyways, I'm glad you enjoyed this. I hope to see you again. And in the meantime, I will see you at the movies.